can't see your guys' faces, by the way, but I'm assuming it's actually there in the video.
Time is up.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I hope you are doing well. It's the 433 podcast, the Premier League recap, a weekend full of ups and downs, full of a lot of controversial decisions, man. So we'll be talking about the Everton versus Liverpool game. We'll be talking about the City versus Arsenal game. We'll be talking about the Spurs versus West Ham game, and I can't wait for that specific topic. And then we'll end it off where else could we end it off? Where else could we possibly end it off? Southampton somehow pulling off an amazing result against Chelsea. So do leave a like on the video if you are excited for this, and do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are doing general football content. Obviously, we're primarily a Manchester United fan channel, but that doesn't mean we don't like talking about football in general. No discrimination out here, baby. So yeah, gentlemen, Everton, Liverpool, Merseyside derby, 2-2. A lot to talk about. And I think where we have to start, between the VAR decisions, the Van Dijk injury, between Everton playing well and how hyped up they were going into this game, what were your thoughts on the game? Whichever one of you wants to start, really.
Okay, now I'll go first. It was an interesting game. I think Liverpool started like a house on fire. Like, it seemed like they were there to make a point, but did it really play out that way? Not completely. I feel like they played well. I feel like Everton struggled in the midfield. I feel like Liverpool's press was something they really struggled to deal with. And we saw them sinking in the game, so much that Rodrigo a lot of the times was playing very deep. So that happened. But I felt like Everton stuck through, and they made good of themselves, and they didn't crumble. And it was an interesting game. It toned down the second half. It wasn't as firecrackery, but the game in general was a really good game. And yeah, there's a lot of questions. I think with Everton, I think we can say the fact that they didn't lose to Liverpool after maybe an iffy start in the game. I think we can say that they're the real deal. I don't know if they'll be consistent. I'm still a bit skeptical about that, but I think we can say they're the real deal. With Liverpool, there's questions. There's a lot of questions, and with the Van Dijk injury now, you just wonder what's going to happen going forward.
Well, I mean, if Mane had just shaved a piece of his elbow off, if he just had a bit of surgery before the game, he would have been onside and he would have scored, But anyways, Clayton, what did you make of the game then? Do you agree with everything Malota says there?
Yeah, I do. And it was just filled with controversy apart from that. It's the red card, the injury, the VAR decisions. It was just all a mess, and it made for such an entertaining game. Lots of emotions. And it's just ridiculous how some things like that Mane decision could be ruled offside, where it looks very clear that he is onside. Just looking at it.
I don't
know what they've done. Yeah. That was a hair offside. That was a hair offside.
The rules are the rules. The rules are the rules. And so thus far, a VAR in terms of offside has not disappointed me. Yes, the lines, I've never seen them that close. So those lines were a bit skeptical. But till this point, it's never disappointed me. So because it's being so consistent in that aspect, I'm going to trust it. And maybe I'm saying that because I'm like Liverpool.
I mean, no, I think what it comes down to with offsides, there's a debate about, what should be counted as offside. At the end of the day, where do you draw the line? Is a full foot offside? Is half a foot offside? Is a toe offside, So I like the fact that the offside rule is very, very clear. I think the problem with VAR, and we'll get to this later on, but the problem with VAR is across other, decisions, it's not consistent. Like sometimes... And when I say consistent, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying VAR doesn't get things wrong. That's not the argument I'm making. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, the use of VAR is inconsistent. Like sometimes the referee just doesn't check things on VAR. But when something looks like a clear and obvious goal to us, then all of a sudden they check it and they stop the guy because his armpit hair was offside. And there's been more glaring things that have happened and things where I've gone like, damn, I don't think that was a foul. But, I would double check if I was the referee, since VAR is supposed to do that. But And this is funny because me and Reto were talking about this probably a year ago. I don't mean to bring other sports into this, but I was saying that captains in football, much like in other sports like cricket, for example, should have at least one review where they can actually appeal a decision during a game, whether it be at halftime, whether it be in the middle of the half, and be like, hey, yo, you didn't use VAR then, something messed up happened. Now, if you're right, you can have my review. But if I'm right, I retain my review, and you have to rechange that decision and give us the rightful free kick, Because especially in the City versus Arsenal game. But, We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Everton.
Yeah, no,
they
I don't.
At the moment.
Sorry. I don't want to take power away from refs. So I agree with how the system is now, and in terms of that aspect, it has been very consistent. But I can see a world where, in terms of what's it called again, in terms of offside, they never seem reluctant to do it. It's weird. But in the other parts of the play, it's like, should we not? But I can see a world where the captain gets at least one review. Maybe that's fair.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be the captain. It doesn't even have to be the captain. I'm not saying football games must just stop now where we stop, but there must be a system where the ref doesn't have full power, because these guys have control over the narrative. The decisions these guys make could shape the Premier League and what happens throughout the course of the season. These are not small decisions where you can go, but Liverpool, if they were a good side, they should be creating more chances. They didn't create more chances. That was going to be a third goal. What more do you want from a team? What more do you want from a team? So I think, for me, I don't think referees should have this much power. I really don't. And if they do have this much power, there must be some sort of, I don't know, like, trust the technology. It's there. Don't just use your own discretion. There must be someone, but we can't even trust the people in the VAR offices because some of them are corrupt. Sorry?
This might sound a bit ridiculous, but do you think there could be a rule where the referee's discretion is allowed a little bit? Because let's say in such a situation where the technology definitely says he is offside, even by the smallest of bits, could there be a situation where we allow a little of leniency? Like, yeah, but it's a toe, so is really offside?
Not with offsides, but with other decisions that already exist. I've seen VAR decisions get given in one game, not get given in the next, with other situations like handballs, fouls outside the box, penalties, because some penalties are too soft. So if the referee feels like it's too soft, you're not getting your penalty. Like with offsides, it is what it is. The rules in offside are clear, because when somebody's offside, they're offside. It's very easy to see, even if it is by a pubic hair. As controversial as it might be, that's different. I'm focused more on the other aspects of VAR. Referees not going back to check on VAR because of something that happened 15 touches ago. It still happened. Yeah. Or alternatively, some referees who do go back for things that happened like 20 touches ago, and then the play gets stopped. You find out a team scored a goal, but there was a foul in the other half of the box and it gets given, and you're like, so where's the consistency? Are we saying that if advantage is played, then that's it, we never look at that? Or if the referee decides to play on, that's it, we never look at that? So I don't know. And I think that already exists. I think referees already do use their own discretion, and that's my problem, because the whole point of technology is to mitigate human error. What is the point of VAR if it's still at the discretion of the referee? This blows my mind. It blows my mind. But
I guess it's just this weird football attitude of not wanting to slow down the game, and it's just not consistent.
Don't agree. But then that's another thing. Why I don't agree with that argument? No, I don't agree with that argument, because if there was a fourth official or a third official or whatever you want to call it, an official who sat in the office and analyzed everything that was happening in the game as it happened, and had like a replay, because they do have the technology to do this, and had a replay in front of him instantaneously. So let's just say Aguero goes down in the box, but play keeps on going and the ball rolls out. Before Man City rush towards the referee and be like, hey, Aguero got rushed in the box, the fifth official who's sitting in front of the TV screen would have already been looking at that. So by the time the referee goes, is it a pen or not? He can be like, yes, it is. Give the pen. You're on screen or whatever. We don't need this thing where Mike Oliver goes to stand in front of a little screen in front of the whole crowd and waits. Like that's unnecessary. The technology is quick enough than one person involved.
I don't mind that. You know why I don't mind that? Because I feel like the whole back screen thing they still do. Maybe not efficient and consistent enough. They do that. But why I want the ref to go to the monitor is that sometimes they feel like it's not clear in the back, and the power needs to be on the person on the field, because that's the point. He's the referee, so the power is for the guy on the field. So I feel like it's better for him to go to the monitor if it's not clear and just check it out.
But then do the people who are checking these out in the background not have coaching degrees? Do they not have access to the exact same replay that's playing on the monitor? Like, that's a problem. That's scary. If the people are not qualified enough to make the same decisions Mike Oliver's supposed to be making, that's scary. Then we're in more trouble.
One person has to be in charge, in my opinion. One person has to be in charge.
Exactly.
A decision has to be made.
That's what I'm saying. The fifth official is in charge of VAR decisions. That's it. because that is a solution to the problem of, VAR takes so much time out of the game. I'm celebrating 1 minute and then 3 seconds later the goal gets rescinded and now it's ruined. They've stolen that away from me. VAR has stolen so much of my football moments away from me. Easy solution. Have someone in the background doing it.
I get you. It just
yeah.
No, you can go on.
There you go. But that's what VAR should be in the first place. It should be something that's constantly going on right now. That it should be that constant viewing. It should be somebody talking to his ear going, we think you need to go to the side monitor. You need to go look at that replay of Aguero going down that box. We need you to go make a decision right now. Something happened. That goal was offside. We saw it already in the replay viewer. Don't give that goal.
Does the on-pitch ref have any power left anymore there? In your opinion?
Yes.
Or is he just not a messenger?
He has power over the game. He has power over the other decisions in the game. There's a million decisions in football that are not influenced by VAR. In the Liverpool game, there was only 2 or 3 times they went up to VAR. The rest are down to the referee. Why are we sacrificing the integrity of football just so Mike Oliver can get a hard-on every time Aguero goes down in the box? What is that about? Who cares that Mike Oliver doesn't have the final say? I don't care. I don't give a crap. I want football to be fair, but still keep the momentum. Why? Why do referees need so much power?
It's way too subjective at this point. That's the issue. It's way too subjective. How is technology subjective? It doesn't make sense. We're meant to bring it in to make sure everything was fair, like you say. That's exactly the purpose of what VAR was brought in for. But now a human operates that and has to listen to the on-field referee's decision in the first place before they can even make a decision whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
look
ridiculous.
at the Arsenal final against Chelsea, how that was ruined. Whoever that referee was, I forget his name now. One of the most crap referees in the Premier League. He ruined that final. Chelsea fans weren't salty because they lost to Arsenal. Arsenal deserved to win that game, but he ruined that final with the decisions he made because of this it's at his own discretion thing. And I just think with or without VAR, referees having too much power has always been a problem in football. I mean, remember the disgusting red card that Van Persie had against Barcelona all those years ago? I don't know. Some of you old-time viewers might be able to remember it. But, go Google it. Go Google the clip of that moment when Van Persie got sent off. And you'll see him in the yellow Arsenal kit with the maroon shorts. Alternate kit. I still remember that moment. Referees shouldn't have that much power. These guys are fraudulent, fam. I'm telling you.
But the thing, it also comes back to the Everton game as well. Because look at that Pickford challenge on Van Dijk. That was ridiculous. Yeah, despite there being offside or not, that's serious foul play. That should be a red, regardless of offside or not.
Yeah. That's the problem with the rules. It's a dead ball. When something's offside, it's a dead ball.
No, it's not. The ref cleared it up. Apparently, they can still give a card, but they just didn't.
Referees shouldn't have this power. There should be someone at the back who says, okay, I understand you're busy at the moment, but please go back to a decision you made 5 seconds ago and give me a yellow card. Done. It's finished. It's finished. Yeah. You can't sit there and argue and be like, no, but I don't think it's hey, Baba, I'm telling you, I have a coaching degree. Go give that guy a yellow card. Done. Yeah. None of this. Oh, is it a red card? No, I don't feel like it's a red card. Sorry, we just wasted 5 minutes for nothing.
I guess the premise behind it was not taking power from the refs on the pitch, but as you guys explained, maybe that structure should just be changed, and who has power in what aspect has to be changed. But in that instance, in the Pickford one, I guess it was down to that happened, and then maybe at the back, they might disagree. One might say, nah, that is too dangerous. Another might say, no, it's not. So in that instance, do we just give it to one person who's in charge of the back, or does the ref on the pitch have the power? So I guess that structure
that's the issue again. That's the issue, the subjectivity again. It should just be black or white. It should genuinely be. It violates a rule. That was serious foul play. That's
exactly that's what I'm saying.
Grounds for red. It needs to not be subjective. Sorry. Yes, go.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think the thing with that is referees, first of all, are under a lot of pressure because now there's no fans in the ground, but usually in a normal situation, there's fans in the ground. The atmosphere affects them. The players and how the players act affects them. We've seen this in other sports, like with LeBron James and the Lakers. Every time the Lakers lose the ball, even if they're wrong, they always rush the referee and try pressure him into making a decision because referees are human beings. And when your emotions and your adrenaline's are running high, you can't make a decision. So yes, the guy at the back might make a mistake here and there. It's going to happen because that is the whole point of human error. But I think it's less likely if someone behind the scenes does it and they actually have a refereeing degree or whatever, a refereeing license or whatever it's called. And number one. Number two, if the rules are actually straightened out, we can mitigate that. We can't prevent it, but we can mitigate it. The problem with on-field referees is once they say something, it's final. It's set in stone, and it changes the tempo of the game. And I'm not saying that the guy behind the scenes can't suffer the same fate, but it's less likely. It's less likely, in my opinion. I mean, when you're watching a replay back in slow motion before Aguero's even appealed, your decision's going to be very, very different to when there's 15 players rushing at you and a whole stadium going crazy. And then you don't give it, and that's done. That's another thing I have with referees. They have too much power because when they are subjective, there's no reversing decisions. I understand after the game we can't reverse decisions and can't take away results, but during the game, there needs to be a solution to that, you know. And I personally think a way to mitigate it is to not have on-field referees have so much power. But look, it's an interesting debate. It's an interesting debate.
Do you guys think that was definitely a red card?
I think so. I think it was a red card on the premise that it was reckless and he nearly ended another player's career. I don't think Pickford intended it because these things happen. We saw what happened with Edison when he took out his own defender. I mean, to think Pickford would have the malice and the ill intention to hurt a player, I agree with Jimmy Carragher. I don't believe it. But at the end of the day, he did nearly end a player's career. You know, we don't know what's going to happen to Van Dijk, and that's a serious injury from what I'm hearing. So yeah, it's a red, bro. Like 100% for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also a red. I don't have any complaints with that. Pickford should have been sent off after a challenge like that. No player should ever be able to make a challenge like that and still be on the pitch with not even so much as a yellow. If they gave a yellow, I don't think we would have been having this conversation at this point, in all honesty. I think just something is so much better than nothing.
Yeah, the yellow would have been like, ooh, is it, you know, he didn't mean to do it. We would have had sympathy towards Pickford.
Then that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, if Martial got a red for what he did, you see what I mean about the consistency? Martial got a red for what he did, but in the very next game, because it's Michael Oliver and not that other guy, he decides, no, I'm not going to give a red. You know, I don't believe.
I feel like they value intent more than anything.
They do, but that's the problem. That's the problem. You know, I feel like you need to have trained specialists who are behind the scenes and not influenced by the pressure of the crowd. Like these guys have way too much control over the narrative. Like if you're a Liverpool fan, your entire season is ruined, and Everton got away with it. They stole points from you, and they still get to keep their best goalkeeper in goal. Like there's no punishment. Meanwhile, you've lost a player who could genuinely cost you the league. How is that fair? You know, the game is dead, fam. But you know, we have to move on from this topic. I think it got a little bit heated. It's an interesting one, and it's one that I definitely want to pick up later on in one of these shows, because I think there is debates to be had about VAR and other games. But look, Everton coming into this game, this was the test. This was the test. Do you guys feel like they have been tested, or do you feel like Liverpool isn't quite the team they used to be, and so therefore you still expect to see more from Everton? And Clayton, what's up with you?
I think Everton had a really stern test today. I think Liverpool actually looked close to their best. They created a lot of opportunities. They pressed really well. They put the midfield on a lot of pressure. They made Andre Gomes irrelevant for Everton that game. They forced him into errors. Everton looked like they were playing 10 against 11 for a lot of that game. I think Liverpool was very much a fantastic test against them. And perhaps if we saw a full-strength Alisson in goal, we would have not quite seen the same level of goals. And maybe Liverpool take the win. But I think Everton did take their chance as well. And I think they show that they've got what it takes to actually push further up the table this season.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think, Rita?
No, I agree. I feel like as things stand, they don't get a better test. And some people say Everton didn't play as well as they played before the whole international break. But I don't know. I just think Liverpool put them under that much pressure. And the midfield was definitely struggling. But the fact that they got out and got a 2-2 draw, yes, we know there's other circumstances around that. But the fact that they got out, I think, shows what a good team they are. Yeah. And for me, the only wire for them is potential injuries. But besides that, they look the real deal.
Yeah. And look,
they did get the red card as well at the end of the game.
That's true. That's true.
That's a big hit for them. It's a big hit for them.
True. I thought they might have won that game, actually.
They could have. I was going to say that, actually, to me, all the nonsense about Everton not playing as well as they did, okay, it's not nonsense, you know, it's opinion. But all the stuff about Everton not playing well, in my opinion, is irrelevant. Champions are known for winning in games where they don't play particularly well. Not saying Everton will be champions, but the sign of a good team is a team that can get results even when they're not playing particularly well, even when they're under the cosh, even when they're not comfortable, even when their back's against the wall. They didn't win, but it felt like a win because of the magnitude of that game. You know, to get a 2-2 draw in a Merseyside derby against the defending champions for Everton will be massive, especially considering the fact that it would have been perfectly understandable if they dropped points in that game after the magnificent start they've had. So for me, I still think Everton are a force to reckon with, man. Honestly,
they're a scary team right now, for sure.
Yeah, they are. I would love to delve into that more, but because we spent so much time on this, we just don't have the time. But last point, Liverpool, do you think the guard has been handed over to Bayern Munich? Do you think that Liverpool, or is it too soon for you, but do you think that Liverpool are no longer the best team in the world? And Reta, we'll start with you this one.
Yeah, no, they aren't. I don't think they are really. I don't. There's just something off about them. There's just they look fragile, especially at the back. They look very fragile. They don't look on it as much. And I don't want to use the word confident or anything like that because it gets overused too much in football. But yeah, and I think what Bayern showed us last season was just an entirely new level. So I think the injury to Van Dijk is big. It's massive because.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Fabinho for centre back.
Actually, I think they should probably do that, eh?
They will.
Because they've got Thiago now, so they can play Thiago up there. I just don't trust Gomez and Matip. We've never seen it together. And what I've seen at Liverpool, really? It's so late. What I've seen at Liverpool, like they've got decent defenders besides Van Dijk. But they're not amazing. I feel like Van Dijk's leadership plays a very big part in how well that backline does. So we just have to wait and see how players like Trent play, how players like Gomez play without Van Dijk. And for me, it's a blow. I feel so much of a blow that they might not even win the league.
Look, I think whether or not they win the league for me, you know, and this might be controversial. It's dependent on how far Man City have fallen off the cliff because I'm hearing the same thing about a lot of teams. I'm hearing everything you've just said about Liverpool. I've heard about Man City before. When they lose the ports, they look very weak at the back. They look very fragile. Yes, they have the players going forward to compensate for that, but it doesn't really help. So I think, first of all, and I want your guys' thoughts on this as we move on to the City and Arsenal game, but before we get there, I think the structure of the league has changed immensely and people aren't paying enough attention to it. I think we are no longer in the era where there's going to be one team that's guaranteed to get 90 points. I think this is going to be a Premier League season where you can win with 80 or 70 points or, you know, or extremely low points total. So I don't think Liverpool... Sure. Exactly. So I think people are thinking of placing Liverpool on a pedestal of last year. Liverpool don't need to be the team they were last year to win this league. They don't. Chelsea are inconsistent. Man City are inconsistent. They got battered by Leicester. But nobody's talking about it because 6-1 United. Tottenham let a 3-0 lead slip. Chelsea 3-3. Villa are actually the only team in Europe at the moment with 100% record since the start of the season. Does that mean they're going to win the league? I don't think so because they're a team. I don't think a team that nearly got relegated could be considered. But you never know. You never know. Leeds with Bielsa are extremely consistent. So for the first time in the Premier League, for me, I don't think the Premier League's crap. I just think there is so many good managers and so many teams that are well organized and well drilled and have a good understanding of what it means to win. And so the teams that are in the best position are the teams that have the highest skill gap for me. And that's Liverpool and City still. Like, if you telling me who's going to win this season, I still think it's Liverpool and City. But we'll just have to see. Because I'm not writing off teams like Everton. But what do you think, Clay?
Just to end off on the Liverpool points, I think they still are showing signs of being that same team they were last season. I just think they've been very unlucky with injuries, but they have been very fortunate for the previous 2 years. So technically, this is kind of compensation for that. They've been going really hard for 2-3 years, no injuries whatsoever. This season, Henderson's out for the first 2 games, Alisson's out for all the games. Van Dijk's now out, and you can tell when those players come back that they start to actually show that system again. Like as soon as Henderson actually started playing again, you could see Liverpool moving the ball a lot better. They actually looked solid in the midfield again. So I think when they're at full strength, which they probably won't be much this season, they are still going to be a massive force to be reckoned with, and by no means should ever be underestimated in this league. But I don't know if they're going to pull off another massive league win, another title win. I'm not even sure about that at this point. Everybody's
Yeah.
showing a lot of sign of weakness, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Everton came out left field and scooped it up.
Yeah, definitely. It's possible. It's possible. I'm not writing teams like Spurs, Everton, and Villa off. You know, Leicester won a league after being in a relegation battle, but Leicester weren't playing in a league with Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Ancelotti, Bielsa, Lampard, Arteta, and a few other managers like Mr. Harry Potter down in the relegation zone with Brighton. So, you know, if Villa had to win this league, it would be the most impressive underdog story by far,
100%.
in my opinion. But what do you think, Rita?
It won't happen, but that'd be amazing. Yeah, into the whole Liverpool injury thing, I feel like Liverpool have woken up to the whole how effective injuries can be to a season, and they just don't buy players with injury records. I feel like the rest of the league tend to not mind. Even Man City, we saw them buy Mendy, and it exploded in their face. So It has really helped them over the last few years. In terms of how the league's gonna go, like I used the 2013-2014 example when I was talking to Marcus, and where the season was it wasn't the most amazing. Like the teams weren't fantastic, but it was very close because they had some good things about them and they had some bad things about them. And you can say it's similar this season. So in terms of what we've seen so far, you can say Liverpool are still favourites because as much as they have failures here and there, they still look like they can beat most teams. So they still look like they'll take it. But it also depends on how bad the Van Dijk injury is and how much that'll affect them. And I'm waiting to see that. If that affects them a lot, I just wonder.
From what I've heard, he's definitely out for a few months at the very least. So I think it's going to hurt them hard.
It's most probably 6 to 8 months from what I'm hearing, because the type of injury he had, professional footballers in the past who've had that injury were out for a year. Obviously now because of medical treatment and how world-class these teams, the world-class the doctors are, he's going to be quicker. But look, I think the comparisons to 2014, 2013 are great, and I do respect them, but I think people are underestimating how unprecedented the situation is, because I think Liverpool aren't the only team that are going to struggle with injuries. First of all, because of the lack of preseason and the fact that the demand that Premier League takes on a player will be seen this season. It's vital that teams
schedule.
Yeah, especially with the schedule
again.
Champions League, Premier League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup. With a normal preseason, that's already demanding on the body. With a normal preseason, most professional athletes can't handle it. Now, without a preseason, and in such unprecedented times, and in a cycle that your body as a professional footballer is not used to, I think it's going to have a massive, massive effect, not just on players' form, but their physical fitness. So I understand at the moment it looks like Liverpool are falling off a cliff, but you wait and see. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that fall off that cliff as well. Look at what happened after lockdown. Sheffield fell off a cliff. Leicester fell off a cliff. Chelsea took a while to come back. Wolves nearly fell off a cliff as well. So many teams just dropped off, and the teams that peaked at the right time caught on. So for me, I think there's a lot of teams that are going to drop off, and I don't know how long teams like Everton and Tottenham can sustain this level of good form, but they definitely are in a good position, compared to everybody else,
Yeah, that's true, and I think maybe that explains Liverpool's injuries as well. But I just worry about the back line because they play such a high line. Yeah. So how important was Van Dijk to that is what we're going to see now. And if Gomez, Matip when he comes back, Fabinho, if they can handle it, I think Liverpool still favours to win the league. But before Van Dijk came, we saw them taking like 50 goals a season or a ridiculous amount of goals a season. So they can't go back to doing that. Otherwise, they won't win the league.
Let's not beat around the bush. Van Dijk is one of the best defenders in the world. It's going to hurt them. There's going to be a visible difference. Let's not beat around the bush. But Chelsea conceded like 60 goals last season as well, didn't they? And some people think Chelsea are going to win the league. So it's a contradiction. You're saying this team might not win the league because their defense is frail without Van Dijk, yet there are other teams in the league who concede just as many goals.
Personally, I think Chelsea's going to win the league because I feel like they have the players there. They just need to put it together. But if they can do that in time, is also a different question.
Yeah.
That's fine, but like when you look at all I'm saying is everything that everybody's saying about Liverpool for me rings true for a lot of other teams. That's why this is so weird for me. It's a mind fuck because people are talking about how frail Liverpool is going to be defensively. I look at Chelsea and I'm like, they don't have a defense either, And yes, they might have the attacking players to pull themselves out of it, and we'll just have to wait and see. It's one of those seasons. Shawnee sent me a message, a screenshot of someone saying Spurs are going to win the league. if Jose gets it right. And I sarcastically replied back, yeah, Ronaldo's going to score a goal if he gets it right. Duh. I think it's just that season. Whoever gets it right is going to win, as obvious as that sounds. And it's almost impossible to predict who will get it right because so many teams are getting it wrong defensively. I mean, United, United, and they're still not even the worst of the bunch, in my opinion. So until we let a 3-0 lead go like everybody else, I don't know.
Yeah,
We're in the West.
I think that's a smooth transition to the Chelsea game, in all honesty. A frail defense.
Yeah, that's true. But anyways, let's move on, guys. Let's move on. It has been quite the interesting show. Let's move on to the most laborious and boring game, thanks to Mikel Arteta. No offense, Mikel. I like you, but that was a stinker by him. 1-0, City took a victory, and Mahrez could have easily made it 2-0. I think it would have been 1-0 at the time, but I mean the final score would have been 2-0 because Mahrez, I don't know if you guys saw it, but that finesse curler that nearly went in. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that shot. But anyways, what did you guys think of the game? And Clay, we'll start with you first. Arteta being so defensive.
Yeah, it was just a bit underwhelming. I expected a clash of giants. I expected them to kind of be at each other's necks the entire time. I thought Arsenal had a much better showing. One positive for Arsenal was Kieran Tierney looked amazing again. He's going to be just a talisman moving forward with Aubameyang when he finds form again. That's the only real positives I can find from the game for Arsenal, in all honesty. It was a bit lackluster in general.
I think the defense was amazing. Look, I know people don't like park the bus tactics. I know people don't like 5 at the back. I know it's fashionable to criticize the cowardly play, but I think that's a huge positive. The fact that they kept City at bay for so long. I mean, if that doesn't rebound to Sterling, it ends 0-0.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, look,
I respect it. As well. just sorry.
That's true.
I respect Arteta. I feel like he's the first Arsenal manager who has come in and said that's enough. It's ridiculous how much we lose to the big teams, and we need to do something about it because these guys are always for the taking. Arsenal fixture, easy 3 points. So yes, I know they lost, but it's not as easy to beat them anymore. You have to work for it. The only thing I'll jab at them for is they need to work on their transition in these type of games and how they get out and how they attack. Because I saw they struggled with that against Liverpool, and they definitely struggled with that against Man City. So
Oli did that while City. Just saying.
Yeah.
A PE
I was
teacher,
about to say.
Oli did it.
Oli did it.
I'm just saying, guys.
It was the best I've seen a manager do it since maybe Mourinho at Chelsea, because I felt like the way Ole was transiting from the defense to the attack, especially against Man City at the Etihad, was very impressive. So
without Pogba and without Firmino, by the way.
Yeah, Arteta needs to take a page from Ole. So
I can't believe you just said that.
So I think they look okay. I feel like we'll have to see what they do against the smaller teams. If they can keep being consistent there, I feel like they can have a decent season. And just fix what they do against the bigger teams. They were heading in the right direction. Into the City team, like the other day I was debating with Clay, and I was saying that City press very high and they play very quick football. And they were saying, yeah, but I think that's how they used to do, not so much anymore. And I think I saw it this weekend. They were underwhelming. They're not the same team they used to be. It's so slow. Yeah. They don't create as many chances. And I just wonder what's going on. Because maybe it's down to not having David Silva anymore. Maybe that's a very big part. But they have the components. They have the defense. They brought in, what's his name again? Diaz now. They have the midfield. They have De Bruyne. Yes, I know he wasn't in that game. But they just don't look the same. That magic, that stardust seems to be gone. And I think they have the most potential because they have the players so they can just switch it on. But it is worrying. And you just wonder how bad is it really? I know they won, and I'm having them, and they won, but I just think they're not the same team.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, before I properly respond to that, if you want some betting advice, do not bet that Arsenal will win against any of the top 6 sides away. They haven't won against one of the top 6 sides in the Premier League in a long time. So free betting advice for anyone who's listening, do not bet for Arsenal when they are away from home against one of the traditional top 6 sides. But anyways, I think with regards to Manchester City, look, I think what I've always said about Pep Guardiola, it's an unpopular thing to say about Pep Guardiola because he's perfect. His fart doesn't smell and he doesn't go to the bathroom. But you can't, it's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. This attacking football, this attractive, high press, high intensity, perfectionism, sort of mantra in football, it's just not sustainable. Sometimes you need to take a page out of the book of the Sir Alexes of this world, of the Joses of this world. Sometimes it's okay to play ugly to win. Sometimes it's okay to not have a lot of the ball. And I just think with Pep Guardiola, I respect him for being the type of manager who loves to impose his personality and his beliefs of how football should be played into his team. I respect how he's able to get his team to match this idea and concept in his head. Not many managers in world football can do that. It takes a certain level of genius. And I'm still impressed by Manchester City after all these years still being one of the tops. I mean, we're saying this team's not the team they used to be and they still finish second. That says it all. That says it all. It's kind of like Barcelona going to
top three.
Second. Yeah, it's just funny to think about. But yeah, I don't think they're the same team. And I think they're struggling from that fatigue. You know, you can only push for so long. And we'll just have to see where Man City goes from here. On that note, where do you think City will finish, honestly, after that, just based on that performance?
Jeez,
I still think their top three team, to be completely honest.
Like I'm not gonna make my predictions. I said Chelsea win the league. I'm gonna go through with that to the end of the season. I still put them second. I'm gonna stick with that. I think they'll turn on and they'll do enough to finish second.
Well, I think I'm gonna stick with my preseason prediction as well. I think City will find a bit more consistency than everyone else over the course of the rest of the season, and they'll win it again.
I mean, between City and Liverpool, I think City are the stronger team because Liverpool have lost Van Dijk now, and Liverpool are on the back end of winning a trophy. And I don't think they'll be able to motivate themselves. That's no disrespect. I'm sure they are the most humble professionals in the world, and they will work hard. But sometimes hard work just doesn't translate to success. City are the only team that's won 2 back-to-back Premier Leagues ever since I've been alive and actually watching the Premier League. So if there's any team that can win another one and keep pushing on, and that clearly doesn't have a mentality problem, it's Manchester City. And for me, their defensive frailties have kind of fallen away this season because everyone else has defensive frailties. I think everyone's defense is sort of plateaued. If you remove Laporte and Van Dijk and you just compare all the centre-backs in the league, every team has at least one centre-back that you can say, on his day, he's just as good as, a Gomez or Matip. No offense to Gomez. I know some Liverpool fans will be absolutely cringing right now, but I just don't think Gomez is good as his own.
I feel like there's going to be teams in the title race that usually wouldn't be because of how the season is. I feel like usually some of the teams, like, I won't use my team, like Chelsea and the rest of them, wouldn't be in the situation because of Liverpool or Man City run away. But I don't know if they can do that this season. So even with their frailties, I think they'll still get very close. And it'll just be down to the end of it. Really.
I don't think you need 90 points this season to win the league or 100 points, definitely. So, but anyways, moving on to one of the more exciting games of the weekend, one where a back five was not played as a ball fest and stunk out. It was actually, this game was very, very interesting. Spurs, West Ham, 3-3. The return of Gareth Bale. Bale is one of the puns used in the headlines to describe West Ham's performance. But what did you guys think of that game, man? What did you guys think of that game? Clay, we'll start with you.
Oh, it was actually a really, really good game. Harry Kane's looking amazing. Son's looking amazing, to say the least.
Oh, yeah, we go. The Harry Kane post is coming. Take it out, but just pull it up.
But yeah, Kane, I don't know what Mourinho's been doing, but Kane's turned into some kind of like number 10. Like, he's playing that false 9 and that number 9 at the same time, and it's working so well. He's playing balls through over the top, he's feeding Son non-stop, he's feeding the wingers, and he's scoring his own goals. What more can you ask from a striker? He's been in ridiculous form, and he just looks like an unreal player again. That's the dynasty of Kane again right now, and we haven't seen this kind of level from him in years, in all honesty. I don't remember a time where I could go, who's the top striker in the Prem, and probably say Harry Kane. Right now, I think I can, in all honesty.
Last season as well.
Yeah, even the season before, and the season before that, and the season before that. I don't think I would have ever said Harry Kane was a top striker in the Premier League. Right now, he looks insane. He's in the form of his life. Yeah. And all I can say about West Ham was they just did not give up, and that final goal from Lanzini, that's goal of the month this month for sure.
Goal of the season.
No doubt about it. Could even be goal of the season. It genuinely could even be goal of the season. That was ridiculous. Oh, I lost a little bit when I saw that. Up the hammers from now on, guys.
Look, I'll keep it brief with regards to Son. Marcus Rashford is my favorite player at Manchester United, and there's only one player in the world I would trade him for. Guess who it is?
The Son.
So I would take Son tomorrow. Rashford, go solve hunger at Spurs. Go solve hunger at Spurs. Son is.
Glad he's found this season. I'm glad.
Greta knows how much I love Son.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, this guy knows how much I love Son.
Fully
In
agree.
FIFA, especially. Oh my god. Son is my favorite player in FIFA. You know, if I buy Son in manager mode, it's a cheat code. But anyways, what do you think then, Rita?
Yeah, like what team does Son not get into? Like it's very few, really. I think
It's very little team in the world.
Yeah, he's the top class midfielder. And Kane as well. People don't realize, but he's a very adaptable, very versatile player. I mean, we saw under Pochettino. He used to play in a system where it was very interchangeable. And for a striker of his type, you wouldn't think he'd be able to do that. So, yeah, you know I would have loved Kane. He's a top player. With Jose Mourinho and Tottenham, firstly, I would not want to be in that locker room after going 3-0 and going 3-3, and that's Jose Mourinho as my manager. He would have lost it because for him, defense is everything. Defense is everything. But as good as they looked going forward, I feel Marcus frozen.
Yeah, for now it's on. Carry on.
Okay. As much as they look going forward, I think their style is very fragile because they rely so much on the counter that as soon as I don't watch the whole game, but as soon as West Ham came back and like this Oaks is just playing on the counter. So if we can nullify that, they won't have much to do really. And because of that, I feel like they couldn't score any more goals. They couldn't, and they couldn't take the game by the strap of the neck and get 5 and just be done with West Ham. Yeah. And it just kept going and going and going. And eventually, West Ham got the confidence. I'm not taking anything from West Ham. It was really good. They got the confidence. They came back. And yeah, look, I don't think I think they'll win the league talk was a bit premature. They look very good, but clearly
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to work with Spurs for sure. And West Ham are just in the form of their life as well, considering their beginning fixtures. The first 4 fixtures were insanely difficult, and they've somehow managed to get points back from that. So all the credit goes to what David Moyes has somehow pulled out of this team.
Is he back?
Marcus.
Is David Moyes back?
No, David Moyes. It looks like it at this rate. He went on a little COVID health scare, and he's come back, and they won 4-0 at Wolves, and they just tied 3-3 against Spurs. It's ridiculous results from them. Moyes is definitely showing some kind of capability as a manager again. And I'm excited about this West Ham team, to say the least. They've got a lot of talent everywhere. And you can see that when they're attacking. Even the fullbacks that they just got in, Kufal, I think he was, the Czech guy, the Czech right wing back. Yeah, he even got an assist today. Last night, that's right. But they look really, really good. And I think West Ham are just going to have a lot better season. They're looking to end that inconsistency that they had last season. I think it's match week 8 that their fixtures actually calm down and they're not facing a giant side every other week. That will actually see them start picking up those 3 points week in, week out again. West Ham look rejuvenated this season.
Yeah, I just find it very hard to trust West Ham because I've seen this before, and they have good players. They have really, really good players, and they should not be fighting for relegation every year, but they somehow seem to be.
Not.
So I think this is where they belong, and I'm impressed with what they've been doing.
Yeah, definitely. They felt like sleeping giants to me last season. I was so surprised when they were fighting a relegation battle at the end of the season. Last season, I had them tipped for like mid-table, in all honesty. I thought they were going to have a really good season. They have really good players. And now they've also reinforced as well by getting in the left winger from Brentford, Benarami is his name, I believe. And that's just going to be another fantastic addition to that strong West Ham attack. It's going to allow them to create more. It's going to allow them to score more. Him and Bowen on the wings, that's a fantastic winger pairing. And they're only going to go up from here, in all honesty.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But I feel like we can't excuse Spurs. I mean, you can't be 3-0 up and then concede 3 goals in the last minute, and then say you're gonna be challenging for top 4.
Yeah. something definitely cracked. But Spurs have been in fantastic form up until that point. They've been winning their games with high goal numbers, which you don't normally see with Jose teams as well. So that's always a good thing to see. That kind of feels like a step forward for Jose as well. He's willing to go forward and score that goal.
You know, I would have thought he is like that. Sorry, Marcus, I'll let you go now. I would have thought like Jose is like that, but he just has never had the components to do it. He's just never had the players to trust enough to say, okay, you can go off, you can do it, because I know defensively you can take care of it. And I know this sounds weird considering they take 3 goals at the end, towards the last 10 minutes, but I feel like he's always had that in him because he's done it so many times at Real Madrid and the other clubs.
Yeah, but I don't think. Look at that. Can I just say, I don't think that's Jose being an attacking manager. I think that's Jose just having the understanding that you need goals to win a football game. You know, not just defense. You know, so obviously, when you have Eden Hazard in your team, you're gonna barrel down the left wing and score 2 or 3 goals in a game. Obviously, you know, but I don't think that's a direct reflection of his philosophy. What I wanted to ask before we respond there, Claire, do you think Jose has evolved as a manager? Because I think now Jose Mourinho, yes, Spurs do have a good squad, but he's not playing with one of the big clubs that have spent £100 million in the summer. So it is very uncharacteristic for Jose to go to a lesser team and still be so attacking, especially at the beginning of the season. Do you think Jose has evolved and has realized that it's time for him to change and he needs to adapt his style to the modern times? Or do you think it's just a fluke? Because even the way he's handling press conferences nowadays seems to have changed.
Yeah, it does seem like Jose is definitely evolved in some respects. I don't know if it's going to be a full 180 and now I'm the most attacking manager in the league, here we go. And I doubt it's going to be somewhere in the middle, I think. I think he's going to actually realize the attacking potential of players. I don't think we saw that enough at United, and that's more what I base it off of. I don't think we saw him actually trying to push forward in games. It was normally hold back, we get that goal in the last few minutes of the game, we win it. That's it. That was our mentality. That's just what it felt like under Jose. Right now, it feels like Son go forward, Kane go forward, guys actually make something happen. Let's take this game and let's make something happen, and then we can sit back and defend.
I mean, when you have Zlatan,
it's definitely
exactly run off the field, though. Yeah, but like when you have Lukaku and Zlatan, you can't exactly play as quick as you do with Kane and so.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely not as quick, but
I know Jose loves his defense, but I do feel like the whole he's not attacking thing gets exaggerated. I feel like people focus more on when he does do the defensive stuff, and when he does do the attacking stuff, it's not really reported as much. Because at United, he played a lot of attacking football, a lot. And in the first season, the second season, I remember a lot of goals where we looked pretty good going forward. But when we're in a situation winning 1-0, he's the type of manager to go, okay, fine, I'm going to sit back. I don't trust these players to do it. When we're in a situation where we're versing Liverpool, I don't trust these players to do it. I'm going to sit back. I think the difference, and I'm going to take a dig at United here, I think the difference between here and at United, here he has players who work in his system, so they can finish teams quickly. They can score 3 or 4 goals in the first half. And if you do that, there's no need to sit back. You can let them enjoy themselves because they're leading 4-0. At United, that never happened. You end up being in a situation where he has to sit back because we're only in 1-0 and it's not clicking as well as it's supposed to.
Yes, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But the reason why I think people call Jose a defensive manager, and I will back everyone else who calls him a defensive manager, is because unlike Pep, unlike Klopp, when Jose's teams lose the ball, they don't press high. They don't try to get it back immediately and dominate the game. When they lose the ball, they go sit back and then they start all over again. And yes, like I've always said, if you're going to win a title, you have to be attacking to an extent. You can't have Eden Hazard in your team or with the team that he had at Real Madrid or the team that he had at Inter Milan and not be attacking to a certain extent. So obviously, Jose has patterns of play going forward and he knows how to break teams down. I've never ever denied that. No top-level manager in world football doesn't know how to break teams down. Not even Van Gaal knows how to break teams down. He may not have done it at United because he didn't have the players, but Jose and Van Gaal have one thing in common. They're both very defensive in the sense that they love to keep the ball. They would much rather keep the ball than lose it and have to defend again for another 20, 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And when they do go 1-0 up, they tend to park the bus. Jose Mourinho was famous in that title-winning season in the second half of the season of going, okay, we're 2-0 up. Hazard, come off. Let's park the bus. And that's where the defensive thing comes from. It's not that he doesn't have any attack at all. That's false. But he is a defensive manager by philosophy. And I think at Spurs, at Spurs, what we're seeing now is Spurs do press a little bit higher than Jose's previous teams. They do dominate games a little bit more. Oh, okay, they haven't played against a good side yet, so we'll just have to wait and see. But the way they play now, maybe the actual patterns of play might not be that different because it's still Jose, and it's not like he went off and wrote a book about a new tiki-taka system. But they still, I think they press a little higher up and they look a lot more.
For me, they look exactly like his Chelsea side. A lot like his Chelsea side. I don't see any difference really.
I'll tell you what the difference is. His Chelsea side won a title.
Okay, fair. I feel like, in that sense, I feel like the Chelsea side did it even better because they had better players.
Yeah, obviously, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. When you have better players, you're obviously going to be more attacking.
Yeah, no,
by
but
nature
you said
because
that
you can't have those players in the team.
you've never seen his players, you've never seen his teams press as high and dominate games as high. I'm saying I don't think that's true because I saw Chelsea do that exact thing.
No, not every time. Not every time. Obviously, there's moments where Chelsea did press high, but he was famous for parking the bus. He literally made a career in the Premier League and a reputation for parking the bus. Maybe at the beginning of the season, not really, but towards the end. Eden Hazard hated playing under Jose Mourinho. Pedro hated playing under Jose Mourinho. Most of his players threw him under the bus that season because they hated having to run back and on defense. That is literally the definition of playing a low block and dropping back when your wingers have to come back and run back. So to say Jose Mourinho presses a lot more than people say is false. He does do it sometimes because Jose does adapt his tactics. That's why he's known for being a master tactician, but he doesn't do it all the time. So you can't associate that with his primary philosophy.
That's true.
That's the thing. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. But I don't think he's attacking.
I feel like the people can look at it from both views and not sensationalize and magnify one side.
Definitely.
I feel like people do that because he has a philosophy where he will let his players attack when necessary, but then he also believes in defensive football. And people make it seem like it's none of that. It's all defensive football. That's why it'll never work. So that it kind of annoys me.
You know where that comes from? Jose Mourinho famously, I don't know if it was in a book or documentary, but there was an interview done with him as a manager way back in the days. You know, this is vintage Jose Mourinho after he won his first Premier League title, and he said he believes in defense first. He's not like all these other managers. He always prioritizes defense first. The first thing he does when it comes to teams is work on defense. So that is what I'm saying. To win a title, you can't just focus on defense first. You have to attack. That is indisputable. So to say Jose Mourinho doesn't have an attack is false because he literally won a title. You're basically saying people can win a title by just parking the bus, and that's not true. But at the same time, this guy clearly loves his defense. So I think it's a bit of both. And that's why I'm saying you're not wrong. But I can see why people call him a defensive merchant, and I've called him a defensive merchant because that football at United was boring, fam. It was boring.
So,
even when he went 70 games unbeaten, it was
I just
boring.
think he didn't have the players at United. He didn't have the players.
Exactly.
We saw them play some beautiful football. I've seen them thrash. I'm sorry, Clay. You can go.
Yeah, so just 2 points to add on. When he was at United, I remember seeing the stat and just having my mind blown. That stuck with me from now. That we at United with Mourinho in charge had the most goals in the league scored in the 80th plus minute. Because we always sat back and just waited for the opportunity for most of the games. It was very frustrating. And then another example of Jose evolving is you can look more in depth in the United game, since you shared with us the video that the Premier League did with the tactics. You could see how Jose actually pressed really well against our midfield, that basically marked Pogba out the game, that kept Matic on his toes, that kept Bruno out of space, and then always came back into a good defensive shape. That's a bit of evolution from Jose. It's him actually wanting to press. It's wanting to win the ball back instead of just soaking it up. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Against West Ham, it looked like in the second half they were protecting a 3-0 lead and they just sat back. I'm just saying. Against West Ham, Pep Guardiola, when he's 3-0 up, wants you to keep pressing, wants you to keep playing. Jose Mourinho doesn't want you to keep pressing. He wants you to sit back and be compact. That's why he's a defensive merchant. Because
I don't know.
When he's 3-0 up, he doesn't keep pushing on.
Like I was saying to Clay when you're off, I feel like the style can be a bit one-dimensional though. So West Ham kind of figured out these guys are playing on the counter. They're just hitting balls to Son. So if we just nullify that, they have nothing. So that's why they couldn't get out as much anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why Jose's philosophy doesn't work in the modern game. You know, of just the philosophy that's mainly associated with him as a manager hasn't won him a title in nearly 5 years, and I wonder why. I wonder why. I think that's why I'm saying I think if Jose is going to win a title at Spurs, he's got to evolve and he's got to change his ways of the past.
Yeah.
What he did at Chelsea won't work.
A lot of it is just down to having the right players, which we know at United he kept asking and he never got. I think at Spurs, maybe United has more high-profile players, but the Spurs players are slightly more suited for the Jose system.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I don't think Jose would have won a title as comfortably back to back in the season that Pep was there with the Chelsea team. So yes and no. I don't think Jose Mourinho's playing style works against a prime Pep Guardiola side.
No.
It doesn't.
That's
You telling me Jose Mourinho can stop a team that got 100 points and won 2 back-to-back Premier League titles? When has Jose Mourinho ever won 2 back-to-back Premier League titles? Okay.
Yes.
You want proof?
Yes.
You want proof? Where was Jose in his third season at Chelsea? Where was Jose in his third season at Chelsea?
I'm not denying he falls off a cliff, but what I'm saying is that Chelsea side was really good, and I think they would have pushed Man City a lot. I feel like Man City got 100 points. Yes, they're a brilliant team, but they had no pressure on them as well. United was crap. If they're a team like Chelsea playing with them, they would have been under so much more pressure. I
didn't say they wouldn't be under pressure, mate. I didn't say they wouldn't be under pressure. I'm saying their playing style wouldn't have worked as easily against managers like Klopp and Pep. Like you're saying, the only reason Jose Mourinho can't win with his playing style anymore is because he doesn't have the players. You might be right, but I don't think so, because even if he had the players, look at what Man City and Liverpool have done to this league. You telling me that the attacking football that Man City and Liverpool have played this in this league, Jose would have been fine against that for the whole 3 seasons. I don't know, maybe he would have won 1 league title, but clearly, even in a league without, I've seen Jose in leagues without Klopp and without Pep look crap defensively. So I think his style doesn't work in the modern game. It might win him 1 title because he's famous for doing that, but it did nothing beyond that. He just gets sacked.
I don't know. I think he would drop off because of the type of person he is, and it doesn't really work out for a long period of time. But I just think with the right players, he can do it. He can compete, maybe not forever, but he can compete for a very long time. And I think it's down to him having a style where he relies on the players to take charge at times and then being very adaptive on the pitch. And I think with lesser players, he can't do that. He can't get that from them.
I mean, he can't do it in his 3rd season with the best squads in the world as well. But, we move on.
Yeah.
Jose, I respect Jose a lot, and once upon a time I really used to like him. I was very excited when he came to Manchester United, but people say if Jose had the players, he would have done this, he would have done that, and you might be right, but historically he hasn't actually done it. He's only ever won 1 league title everywhere he's gone, and then fallen off a cliff. So why in his third,
he won 3 at Chelsea,
whatever season?
Won 2
back-to-back
titles.
But his second time there, he fell off a cliff. So to say that Jose Mourinho would be able to do it for a long time, there's no evidence in history to support that, besides that one time in Chelsea.
I remember
there's no history to support that. I've actually got evidence to support that Man City could do it, and Liverpool, because Liverpool won a Champions League the season before they won the league. So to say Jose could do it against those 2 teams, I think he can, but to say he would is pushing it for me. Like,
I feel like there's a lot of context. In Jose's first season back, I think he did well. He finished 3rd with a crap team, in my opinion, with Eto'o in them. It wasn't that great. In the second season, he got these players. He was amazing. They were the best team, no question. In the 3rd season, much like Pep now, he was screaming to Ibrahimovic, I need this, I need this, I need that. And Ibrahimovic wasn't giving them. A player I know he wanted specifically was Stones, and he didn't get. So there's a lot of context to it.
There is a lot of context, but I'm going off the evidence, mate. Like, there is a lot of context, but I'm going off the evidence. Jose Mourinho won in leagues where he didn't have 9 or 10 of the best managers in the world relative to their positions. Right now in the Premier League, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Frank Lampard, Arteta, I don't care what your opinions are of them, but for as far as inexperienced managers go, they are probably in the top 15 category of inexperienced managers. So of the new managers in world football based on popularity, those are probably the top 5. When you add Bielsa, when you add guys like Potter down at the bottom, and then you add Pep, you add Klopp to the league, you add Ancelotti, he didn't have those 8 managers that I've just mentioned there competing with him in those seasons. Is that Jose's fault? No. Does that mean Jose would have never done it in the season? No. He could have. He definitely could have. But there's no evidence to suggest that he would. I wouldn't bet my house on it. So that's all I'm saying, And Jose is a very short-term manager. That's why I don't like him, because people lube him up like this guy who never does anything wrong. He's not a long-term manager. And what Pep did is so overlooked. What Liverpool have accomplished is so overlooked. To win a Champions League and then to win a Premier League in the very next season, you know, and to keep your job at a team like that for 5 seasons, Jose couldn't do it, you know. So, but anyways, we move on, man. We move on. My phone is actually about to die at the moment, gentlemen, so I'm having technical difficulties. But Chelsea and Southampton, you guys can talk about that game as I sort out my issues, yeah?
Sure.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
So it is actually
Timo
a
Werner
really,
is
really
a good starting point.
Yeah, it was a really good attacking showing from Chelsea. It's exactly where I was going. Timo Werner actually looked fantastic. He made the defenders look silly. He actually showed the potential that we all thought he would bring to the Premier League when he was signed to Chelsea. He looked very, very comfortable. He looked like he had a fantastic shot on him. Everything just looked right for Werner that game. And I'm very surprised he didn't manage to get his hat-trick at the end of it. But it was a very good performance from him overall. But Chelsea's defense is just shocking. Both of them were amazing. The first one, he drilled past like 4 players and put it past McCarthy, made him look silly. The second one, he chipped the keeper and headed it in. It was fantastic.
That's the one I'm talking about. That, oh my god.
He chipped the keeper, back of the net. It's beautiful when you see that. Love it.
Yeah, no, those are the type of goals I've been expecting from Werner, and we all knew they were coming eventually. So I'm happy for him. But as you say, I didn't watch the whole game. I watched parts of it. I think going forward, they were great, but some of the Chelsea players just need to jack up on. It's very weird because it's not the new at the moment. It's not the new players. It was like that a bit at the start, but they seem to become to their own. Havertz has come to his own. What's his name again? Werner and all the Chilwell. All the new players seem to be playing really well. But I feel like the rest of the players around them, they're not as bad as the performances are showing. They're not as. I mean, Christian and Zuma, I think that defense is. They're showing to be pretty good as defenders, but they're not playing like that at the moment. A midfield.
I think it's fully Kepa in all honesty, for the defensive frailties. I think it's fully Kepa. Right?
I don't want to put that much blame into the keeper. Honestly, I don't want to put that much blame into the keeper.
I think he was so poor. I think he was so poor watching that game. He squandered chances, very easy goals that could have been saved by a better keeper. I think if Mendy was fit, we could have seen Pep win, in all honesty. Yeah.
Okay, no, I feel like they can show a better defensive display, to be honest. With the players they have on the pitch, with Jorginho and Kante in the 6, I feel like players like Mount and Pulisic can give more as well. I don't know. I feel like some of the players that have been there for a while are just not playing at the standard we've seen them play, maybe even last season. So I feel like some of the players need to jack up. And obviously, I think Kepa is the biggest one. So what is his name again? Mendy. The sooner he comes, the better.
Yeah, well, right now he is injured for a little bit. As soon as he's fit, he's going straight back into that starting 11. I don't think there's a doubt in the mind. Zuma had a really good game, though, that you mentioned it. He basically controlled Kepa. He was the one thing that kept Kepa in the game in the early stages. He was telling Kepa, back off, I got this ball, heads it out, make sure he doesn't have to touch the ball as much as possible. You can see that from Zuma. His centre-back pairing was a little bit MIA in all honesty. But Chilwell had a fantastic game again. He is just a serial crosser. He looks really good. He looks like a mini Andy Robertson at this point. He looks really, really comfortable. This looks like the right team for him right now. He's looking very good going forward. Defensively, still haven't seen much of him, and that was probably the main worry of him coming to Chelsea from Leicester. But like you said about Pulisic as well, he could have offered a lot more today, but admittedly he did come back from an injury. He could have had an assist or a goal, probably, if he was fully fit. But I think we'll see that in time. And the same could be said about Ziyech, who made his debut. He didn't really show too much, but again, admittedly, that came down to his injury issues. Him only being fit to play 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, no, look, I think this Chelsea team has a lot of potential. And
yeah, definitely.
There's still got players to come back. I don't know, why is Thiago not playing though? Thiago Silva, is he not ready? Is there injury or something like that?
I think an injury camp. I can't quite remember where it was, but I think they've been plagued with a little bit of injury trouble at the beginning of the season. Yeah, but I think as soon as he starts playing, it'll be a lot better defensively as well.
Yeah, and I think they need to get him to the team as quick as possible, not just because of his talent, but just because of his leadership skills as well. Because I think that backline is in desperate need of leadership. including Kepa. So, the only worry for them is that hopefully when they do switch on, they're not too far from the top of the table in terms of points.
Definitely. And they definitely showed like they were gonna switch on with this game. They did it defensively for sure. Let's see if they can fix their defensive frailties. And if they can, I see no reason for them not finishing top 3, potentially even winning the league, if they find that form while everybody else isn't.
Yeah. And Southampton, what do you think of them? I know you're a big fan of Southampton.
Yeah, I think Southampton looked very threatening from minute 1, in all honesty. Like, Ralph Hasenhüttl definitely wants to play that progressive football. He definitely wants to move the ball forward. He wants to gain those channels and actually put Chelsea under pressure. And they did that very, very well. They had a lot of possession early in the game. It looked very, very worrying for Chelsea when Southampton were going forward. But if they had slightly better players, I think Southampton win that game comfortably, in all honesty. But it was a lack of some football IQ. It is a lack of ability in general. Like, they're still learning. This team's still growing. They've got a lot to show, but they definitely showed what they can do. Like, Ings made Kepa look silly. Adams made Kepa look silly, and it was just a really. I think it was somewhat a poor showing, in all honesty, from Southampton, despite them scoring 3. I think they could have done a lot better, and that's the reason I say it was a poor showing. I think they could have genuinely won that game, especially towards the end of the game. They worked their way into the final third a lot in the final 10 minutes, and they just kind of held the ball. It looked like they were trying to time waste it, but they definitely could have broken through a few more times. I would have loved to see an upset like that against Chelsea, because Chelsea 3-0 up. They go 3-0 down. I want to see my team pushing, in all honesty. If I'm the manager, I would go. See if you can get that final goal. Give it to Ings, give it to Adams, then pop a shot and see what happens. But it kind of just felt like they fell off a little bit. But they looked a lot better than the start of the season. And it looks like they're progressing as well.
Yeah, no. I trust Ralph Hasenhüttl. I mean, to lose 9-0 last season and still come back and get this team playing good football and survive, I think that's something special, and it shows what kind of manager he is. So I don't think there should be any worry for relegation, anything like that. Maybe they won't be as good as last season, but I think they'll definitely survive. With Chelsea, do you think they still make top 4 with this poor start, or do you think, I mean, with everybody else performing around them?
It depends on the defense, in all honesty, to me. I think they fix the defense, they go forward. It's as simple as that right now, because they're letting in stupid goals. It was 3-0. It was literally on a platter waiting for them, and they just couldn't see it out. Like, you have the attacking talents, the defensive talent's injured currently, unfortunately, and they just all missed the game. It just feels like Chelsea don't know how to defend the ball, and as sad as I is to say right now, I think that could cost them. But as soon as they fix that, they're going to be a massive threat in the league, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I mean, I predict them to win the league, so that might be egg on my face. But
still a chance. Still a chance.
There's still time to them. Hopefully, they just don't fall too far behind, because as much as Spurs drew, I mean, they look really good. I think Arsenal look like they have really good shape. So, yeah, hopefully for them, they click quicker sooner rather than later.
It's going to be a fantastic Premier League season, to say the least.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else. I don't think Marcus is coming back.
Yeah, I think Marcus is done for the day. But that was a good show overall, if I do say so myself. Had a lot of talking points, VAR scandals, Everton versus Liverpool. Merseyside derbies are always massive and a lot of fun to watch. Same goes for the London derby against West Ham and Tottenham. Everything was just a draw this weekend, sadly. There wasn't a dominant performance. But hey, we move, and we hope to see more of this fantastic competitive league going forward. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm tired of the Man Cities and the Liverpools of this world dominating every season. It's been a while since we've seen a league where you just don't know. It could be Man United this moment, hopefully. It could be Chelsea. It could be anyone. So that's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a wrap. And okay, Marcus is back. So let's see if there's anything to say.
I'm having serious problems. The CPU on my phone is actually overheating. That gives you an idea of how hot this apartment is. But sorry about that. You can end
Yeah,
it.
It's fine. We're just about to sign off.
Well,
Don't
about
worry.
the end of the show.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on your final thought on Chelsea and Southampton?
I'm going to try to be as quick as possible because this thing might crash again.
Yeah.
Look, Southampton, I'll keep it very brief. I think they're a very mid-table-esque team. I don't think we can expect much from them. They did very well to get that result against Chelsea. What I wanted to say before I cut out, actually, and this is very important, it's not all on Kepa because Chelsea, at the end of the day, have a backline that is responsible for protecting its goalkeeper. But Kepa, bruh.
It's
The ball
bruh.
literally got passed back to him and he missed it. The ball literally, if he just stops that, I don't know if you saw one of the goals because, like you said, you didn't watch one of the games, but Southampton literally were pressing high and he got a back pass and he missed it. And then he was, like scurrying back and he slid into the post and I don't know what the hell was happening. I was so distracted by him trying to save his mistake that Southampton ended up getting a goal. I didn't even think Southampton would score, but my focus was so distracted by Kepa running around like a madman trying to recover that ball.
Kepa's just a headless chicken with long arms. That's all it is at this point.
In terms of ability, I don't doubt him as a goalkeeper. I think in terms of ability, technical ability as a goalkeeper, making dives, being acrobatic, I think he has a lot of potential. But his head is just not there. His head is just not there, Chelsea. I don't know what it is.
It
I don't
hasn't
know
been
if
there
it's
for a
something
while.
behind the
Something's fallen. Yeah.
Yeah, something's going on. Like the way Maguire is for United, that's what I think of Kepa as a goalkeeper. Like people talk about David De Gea making mistakes. Oh my God, I'm glad I have De Gea. I'll take non-prime De Gea over Kepa any day because that's calamitous.
Matt Ryan over Kepa, thanks.
Yeah, and another thing is, look, we can sit and talk about the tactical analysis of Chelsea, but if you're a Chelsea fan and you're 3-2 up and the game ends up 3-3 and you don't win the title at the end of the season because, I don't know, you drew too many games, you're going to look back on games like this and think, bloody Kepa, if only he just trapped the ball and was a decent keeper, we might have had a few extra points. Yeah. We've had this with United. How many times have we been sat there going, imagine if De Gea just made that save?
Yeah, I remember they did a
final.
I don't remember how they collected the data they calculated, but they were saying when Cech went to Arsenal a few years ago, he got them an extra 11 points by just being a better goalkeeper.
Yeah, because they'll take into consideration shots that would have ended up being a goal and would have ended up winning that team the game or ending in a draw. And so every save a keeper makes and every time they don't make a mistake, that's an extra component of your team that did not contribute to you losing. Chelsea conceded a goal because of Kepa. Southampton did press high, yes. That back pass was a bit dodgy, yes. But they conceded because of Kepa. And that's the problem. Yeah. That's 2 points down the drain against a team that you should be beating with the transfer window you had. They might regret that. And it's not just the points that they lost, but it's also the confidence and the ruining of momentum. That's what people don't understand. And Kepa's going to do this time and time again throughout the season. We've seen what Pickford has done for Everton. I think Kepa's worse for Chelsea. So that's my final thoughts on it. I think Chelsea can win the league title, but again, Jose can. They need Mendy back, but Jose can win the league title. Everton.
If we're comparing the two, I think Chelsea are in a better position because I think they have the players in terms of profile to do it, and they don't have the Europa League. I think the Europa League is going to be a big blow when it comes around.
Yeah.
Or when it becomes.
It's going to be a great season regardless, guys. I think that's as simple as it is right now. It's going to be a great season to watch.
Yeah. I will end off on this. I heard a Spurs fan say he's sick and tired of getting fourth and he just wants a trophy. And I was like, yeah. Why do you guys even care about the league? You guys are in the Europa League. You can actually, that's a tournament Spurs can win. Like, I don't know why anybody's not talking about that as if it's, no. Get the Carabao Cup. If Spurs fans celebrate the Carabao Cup, I'll be disappointed. I'll be very disappointed. Yeah. They should be going for the Europa League. They have a manager who can do it. They have a team that can easily wipe the floor with Europa League teams and not get knocked out by Greek restaurants like their other London mates in red. They can do it. The Europa League is a realistic goal for Spurs. And I think that's where they should focus their energy. Like, how the hell do you go from a team that made a Champions League final and celebrated like that famous night in Paris when you can't even stay consistent in the league to a team that wants to win a league title and you're not accepting anything less? That's weird for me. So I think Spurs fans need to be a bit more realistic. I don't think a Carabao Cup is where their level's at. I think they can push on and win more. The Carabao Cup is just a BTEC FA Cup, and nobody respects the FA Cup as it is. So why would you?
I think they should definitely try to win it though, because they've haven't won a trophy in so long. Winning a trophy would be very massive.
They should. But look, if there's a midweek game against Olympiacos or whatever, and there's a Carabao Cup final, do not play your strongest team in the final when you need to win that game against Olympiacos. That's all I'm saying. Or semi-final.
I think
Whatever
what
it is.
wasn't it again? Jose disagrees. From what he said they're gonna play pretty much the strongest team every game, which is gonna take a toll on them.
They have been.
It's not long.
They
It's
have.
not long till we hear it. It's a miracle if it would be a miracle if I make top 4 without Son.
Harry Kane injured for 5 months.
But yeah, anyways, I hope you did enjoy that with my whole host of technical difficulties. These two did a fantastic job covering for me. And do leave a like on the video. Please do not forget to subscribe if you are new. And yeah, man, share the content. Get down in the comments. We need engagement. It helps the channel grow. You freeloaders. Get down in the comments. Even if it's just a heart emoji or a smiling emoji, you leave a bloody comment. It's been your boy Triple M. Goodbye. Thank you very much.